Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session on radical gratitude. No more wasting time. Gratitude for your vision, for your life force, your time, and the refusal to squander it or orbiting or delaying. So, radical gratitude is not bowing, but rising. Gratitude is one of the most misunderstood practices out there. We've been taught in spiritual circles, self help books, and society be thankful for what you have. You've got food on the table, a roof over your head. Others have it worse. And yes, that's true. But here's the shadow side. This kind of gratitude was historically used to keep people small, to make the serfs and the slaves bow their heads, be thankful that they weren't starving, and never rise up to claim more. Gratitude twisted into submission, gratitude as control. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about radical gratitude, gratitude that wakes you the fuck up, gratitude that says, I'm alive, I have this breath, this body, these gifts. And because of that, I'm not wasting a single day orbiting other people, making excuses or playing small. Radical gratitude isn't bowing to what you've been given, it's rising with it. It's saying, I honor myself, I use my gifts, I live fully right now. Because real gratitude fuels action. It makes you bold. It makes you uncompromising. It makes you claim a life that satisfies you, not just a life that feeds you scraps. Gratitude that rises, not bows. So don't confuse thankfulness with submission. True gratitude isn't about settling, it's about honoring your life so fully that you refuse to waste it. And the older we get, the more aware we have of how much time we might have left on the planet. If our health is well, we can walk, we can breathe, we haven't got any serious health issues. We still need to be thinking about things in terms of how do we use our time? Who do we spend it with? What do we spend our time doing? What illusions and delusions and lies are we telling ourselves? So, this is about gratitude and stop wasting time. So, welcome back. This idea came from my day 4 of the 7-day challenge and diving into gratitude, not the fluffy kind. This is about radical gratitude, gratitude that fuels action, wakes you up, the fact that life is short. Time is precious. And if you don't step into your dream now, you're wasting the most valuable resource you have. And here's the thing, many of us want change. We want to travel, build a business, write a book, heal, fall in love, whatever it is. But what do we do instead? We delay. We wait for the perfect moment. We orbit around other people's plans and we convince ourselves that tomorrow will be easier. And here's the truth, tomorrow never comes. There is only today. So gratitude isn't just writing down a nice list of things and feeling good. It's about recognizing I'm alive, I have breath. I have the power to choose how to use this day. Gratitude is refusing to waste time, waiting for trains that never arrive, waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect conditions. And I'm not discounting for any moment that if you've got a chronic health condition like chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, that it isn't bloody painful and hard to get out of bed and days feel like struggles. But we still have to be mindful of how we use our time, where we give it to, and who we spend our time with, because all of these are energy leaks, our energy that when you've got those conditions, you can't mess about with your time and energy in that way because you need every resource to keep you alive. You're literally utilizing what your mitochondria is struggling to release. That is the battery of the body. So, like I said, it's not just writing a list of nice things. And I do that a lot. I wake up and I think, oh my, I love it. The sun is coming through the windows. And I love how I can just walk through this space and feel a sense of peace. But I wasn't always here. I had children, and when they were growing up, I had to rush from one place to the next, take them to school, get their school bag ready. No matter how organized I was, there was lunch boxes that went missing or trousers that needed fixing or gym shorts that hadn't been washed and they had gym today. Then I would run to work and work all day and always work overtime and give my time to this system that we just keep giving our time to for free. Most people work overtime And even that's perpetuated by managers who thinks that that's what you should do. So I've been there. I've had chronic fatigue. I've had burnout twice. And I had a car accident in 2019 where it was very difficult for me to get up and do the day-to-day things. So am I thankful for the fact that I can breathe and move around and pick up shopping and drive again and even drive a camper van, because I didn't drive for 7 months after my car accident. My brain just was scrambled by everything that happened. But each time these things have happened to me, even when I left home at 18, I knew that that wasn't what I wanted. So if you're depressed and you're anxious and you're struggling with how you feel, depression, when you're in the pits of it, is despair. You're in this downward cycle that can feel difficult to get out. But one small step of believing that something can be different, can feel different and look different, and just even entertaining that as an idea, entertaining that in the dark there's a light that can shine, whether that's a friend, a book, you go online and you follow some curiosity. So we are all having different experiences. Very few people come into this world, experience this world, and have it really easy. And maybe it looks like that on the surface. And we're seeing that on a lot of Instagram stuff, that we take these pictures. I mean, I take pictures when I'm in my camper van or when it's pouring down. And sometimes in the camper van, it hasn't always been fun. Or I get anxious because something's going on with it and I don't understand how to figure it out. But I now found a great mechanic whose knowledge of cars is like 40 years of, he's probably been working there since he was 16. So I value the knowledge that someone else has that can see a problem and help me unpick that, because I'm not going to go to college to learn about cars, but I want to drive a vehicle that is safe on the road and that it gives me peace of mind so that I can turn up at any destination and enjoy that space while I'm there. So I'm going to go through some things that we tend to do, and I'm going to give you a stat. I've had this channel for, I think, 4 years, but started really using it when I started the first set of podcasts I was doing with Danielle, and we've got another YouTube channel as well, where we're looking at spirituality, psychology, and we were talking about the tarot and all sorts of things esoteric. And it was great because that was a challenge for me to get out and start having a conversation instead of struggling to write things down all the time, because I'd had some level of dyslexia that wasn't identified at school and had permeated through every job that I'd had and things that I tried to do. So even though I ended up getting a master's, it literally was blood, sweat and tears. And I've even had tutors asking me, how did that even happen? So I've not got to the place I've got to here because it was easy and someone paved it for me. And I had ready money. I did it trying to make the best use of the resources because I just knew, and in NLP terms, I just knew where I didn't want to be. I didn't always know where I wanted to be, but I knew where I didn't want to be and I would move forward. Or I found something like in the therapy world when I was training that I just really enjoyed, that I was passionate about. I loved reading. I loved understanding myself more and understanding how these models were useful to help clients understand themselves more. Because the more you understand yourself, the more you've got that awareness, it's great because you can start to make decisions based on who you really are, but not in identity terms, in kind of who you was born to be. And we have to unravel all this conditioning, ideas about gender and race and class and location and all. We have to unravel all that stuff. And that's where awakening really comes in. And I talked about awakening. It's a bit technical in my other video, but really that's what this means. It means that we start to understand what are the things that we learn about ourselves that aren't actually true. So we have to be really brutally honest and look in the mirror sometimes, but start where you're at, because I don't want people to get overwhelmed and stuck even more, because that's what can happen. Your body goes into a shock response, you get overwhelmed, your brain can't function, and then you don't know what it is you want to do. So you have to learn to calm down your stress first, learn how to breathe, learn how to relax the nervous system, and then get your thinking back online. We know that in research, your thinking is scrambled if you're going into a stress response. So this isn't about stressing you out. This is one tiny little towards something more than what you're doing, not because I want you to be a particular way, If you're happy on the sofa, you've got to midlife, you're about to draw your pension, and you want to travel, and you're happy with the way things are, great. You're not going to be watching my videos anyway, because you've decided that you want to live a life how you want to live it, and you've got the resources to do that. So, but if you are feeling like there's just something more, you're not happy, you want to learn how to make some changes, then all the material that I put in my 30-day programs are designed to help you, just one thing a day that will move the dial, move you in that direction. And then it's about, how do we move into the person that we're becoming without getting caught by the person that has been holding us back, the two versions of ourselves, our old identity, our ego that says, don't do that, that might happen, what if, and we then feed into that. And we've got to be really mindful that we don't get caught up in that thinking. But before we make the step, let's have a look at what excuses we tell ourselves. I don't have time. I'll start when things calm down. I've got too much on my plate. When the kids are older. When I've got more money. Once I feel ready. It's not just the right moment. Every one of these is a code for I'm scared to start. What if I fail? There's something else that's going on underneath that. But the not having time is one of the most common ones I've come into contact with out of all of my life. If I was going to talk about when I was running mental health services and we had families, adults and children coming through, one of the things that happened all the time is, and families are busy. The man and the wife partners might be working, and the kids are at school, and you are running from one place to the next. But the thing is often that because we're so busy, we don't actually get to see what's in front of us and where things aren't working so well anymore, and what we can learn or do differently to tackle that issue, so that resentment and frustration and anger doesn't build up, and we can carry on in healthier relationships where possible to do it differently. So I'd often see people when they came to the services in crises, and crises is when you're sick of something enough and you're in crises, that's often when we'll make a move. Or you've been lying to yourself for a while and you make decisions and you agree on things. I've seen this happen to even a lot of guys that I've come into contact with, either through work or worked with, that have agreed to a lot of things and then realised that almost down the aisle, and realised that they didn't want to agree to the previous set of things that happened, let alone that they don't want to get married either yet or at all. And for various reasons, it doesn't mean to say you don't want to be with a person, but maybe you just never wanted to get married. But the smaller excuses, but the ones that are still as poignant and potentially poisonous, is I don't have time. So a practical thing that you can do is you draw out your week, okay, Monday to Sunday, and you do it like a calendar, like in your diary, where you have, say, 6 a.m. till 12 at night. And you mark in there where your time slots are already taken. So sleep, say you go to bed at 10 till 6. Okay, so that amount of time has been taken out of those 24 hours. Then you have a look at the time of getting the kids from school, getting home, cooking them dinner. That time's taken with doing that. And unless you've got enough money to have a nanny and a servant, one of you is doing that, even if you change up the agreement every other week or so. And I've worked with couples that did do that. One would work late shifts and the other would work look after the kids, and then they'd swap around, so that you're not both responsible for everything that goes on in the family. Then you've got times going shopping, so how can you make that more slick and smart? But how much time is wasted? And then when you sit down, if your kids are older, you haven't got children, you come home and you finish your work at 6 o'clock, you've theoretically got 5 hours every night in which to start your own business, or to go running on a Monday, yoga on a Tuesday, rest on a Wednesday, see your friend on a Thursday, have fun on Friday, go to the cinema, or work on your business all weekend. So I tend to work on my business stuff most weekends, and in the evenings I don't really watch much TV. A lot of the TV just doesn't do anything for me, but apart from the travel programs. So you've got to have those elements of the things that you enjoy, but we have got time. We've got some time in the week. Or where are you giving time to that you could release some of that time? Because we can actually start businesses now at this level of life from your phone. You can have an eBay account. You can set up a PayPal account. None of that costs you anything. And you can start selling the rubbish that we buy that we thought we wanted and put it online. It sounds trite. You might only get a few pounds from it, but this is actually quite satisfying. And I know when I was talking to my son about this, he enjoyed that aspect of the hustle, but realized at some point he didn't want to hustle in that way anymore. He wanted a different hustle, and he enjoyed that. So it was about the work that he was creating that he enjoyed. And many of us can do that, but it's also about doing something that we set our mind to. That's why I'm doing the 7-day challenge. Doing something we set our minds to and completing it. So set yourself a 5-day challenge of every day for 10 minutes, I'm going to go for a walk. Every day, I'm going to get up and list one thing on YouTube while it's free to put it on there. Or for 2 weeks, I'm going to focus on clearing out the cupboard of all the stuff that I've collected over the years and that I don't actually use and want. Go around your house with a fine-tooth comb and say, never liked, get rid, sell. Sort of like doesn't fit who I am and my design anymore. Pack that up, charity shop or sell. And I'm actually not an advocate of taking everything to charity shops either, because charity shops are big business and they're making a lot of money. So if you can sell that in your local car boot, someone gets joy out of what you're selling and you get joy out of getting some money back for what you paid a lot of money for in the first place, then do it that way. Do it in a way that makes you feel good, but complete it. So if you're sat on the sofa and something is irritating you, get up and sort it out. Decide that you're not going to leave everything. Decide on a Sunday what 3 things that week you are going to tackle. Whether it is sorting out your finances, sorting out your tax returns, or what can look like a small thing, which is fix the fridge or move the stuff in the garden or take something to the dump or whatever. So make the time to clear the things that pull on our time and energy. And we know this in Feng Shui. Then it's about, where are you expanding time with people? You know, you go and sit and gossip with friends who are having a catch up. You could be going on a weekend course. And the other aspect I've seen a lot happen when I was running meetup groups, I ran one for 2 years and I've got one at the moment. I'm not actually that active with it now, because that's where I was teaching a lot of yoga and meditation during lockdown. And now I'm out and about a lot more. But a lot of people I meet who go to festivals have wanted to go to that workshop, try yin yoga, go into London, explore Portobello, take a camera, have a day out with other people who've got cameras, and they don't, because they're waiting for their friends to also want to do it. And that is a mistake, a big mistake. If there's something you want to do, there's so many meetup groups now where people will have that thing that you might like doing. Okay, whether that is a camera day out, cycling group. I've got a friend who's really into motorbiking, has joined a motorbiking club. Another lady that I worked with has joined a group because she wanted to try new hobbies but meet new people. So there is lots out there. And if you can't find anything in your local area, get the confidence and start something in your local area. So you've got the time, but the time to either do something different and move you further towards your goals of going to the gym. And I've helped a lot of clients who wanted to get fitter and more active, but they buy into this idea that you need to go to the gym and work out for 20 minutes on this machine, 20 minutes on that. You've already lost an hour, and then do 5 sets of weights like this. When you're starting out, that's too big. Okay. You come back, you're tired, you're stiff, you're sore, and you don't want to go the next day. So you just go and do 10 minutes of one thing and lift one set of weights. Feel how your body feels when you do that. And then the week after, move it up a bit. There's so many people that give advice and information that is not accurate. And if you're struggling to get out and get unstuck, okay, let's be radical with the gratitude. So starting when things calm down. Sometimes that applies. So when my kids were sick and I had to go to A&E and sit in A&E all day waiting to find out what the doctor was going to say, a lot of the times we ended up in hospital, and I spent a lot of time in hospital with him. While in hospital, of course, you give to your child and you want to be there, but you also need to get some time out. And I was studying while he was in hospital. So there are times when you've got to respond and it's a crisis and you work that out, but hopefully the crisis doesn't continue and you give your time and attention to that and you make sure that all the needs are met in that moment. So I'm not dismissing all of these real life stuff that comes up. and you're not satisfied in your job. So now you're giving time, 1 hour a night, and you're going online and you're seeing if you can find a job, or you look for some training where you can increase your skills so that you can go for jobs that maybe that at the moment you can't because you haven't got all the skills that you need. Got too much on your plate? Okay, yes. I was a still am, single parent for over 20 years. Of course, I had a lot on my plate. I was studying, going to work, taking the kids to school, running the house. Had a lot on my plate, but it was always, I don't know, this would clearly come from my mum. It was always important that I had some time to carve out. So when I was studying, I only saw friends once a week. That was it. And when I was studying, the primary goal was study, get the kids to school, make the dinner, and manage everything else. But I still carved out that little bit of time. And eventually that little bit of time grew as they got older, wanted to spend more time with their friends. So I'm reiterating this because they're not, some things are real. You've got an aging parent, you need to talk to the doctors, you've got to deal with social care, you've got to now support them managing their bills. And if you can delegate that to anyone else, then brilliant. But we haven't always got anyone else. But there are lots of voluntary organisations that are out there, and maybe there is some support that you can tap into. So one small step daily. Don't wait for one big leap, one email, one call, one video, one decision. That's it. I say to my clients, when you wake up in the morning, radical, get up, focus. What 3 things do I want to achieve today before you put on your emails? Emails is the biggest energy leak for forever. You put on the emails and now you're in everyone else's world. Or you scroll on Instagram and now you're in everybody else's opinion and crazy behavior and what the hell are they doing this, you know? So be really protective of your energy because your energy leaks. And I'm still having to make sure that I notice where my energy is leaked and when I've given it away. Because some patterns die hard and you've got to be reminded. And sometimes the universe or your environment reminds you of, okay, what's going on? I'm getting irritated, frustrated. What am I learning today? And you be able to go into that. So we notice these things, and not because we want to be mean to ourselves and be really critical. It's giving us an opportunity to grow, and how can we do it better tomorrow? And even if you do a 7-day plan and then you don't do anything for a couple of days, I'm not advocating that, because you want to roll when you're on a momentum, but you probably want to have an idea after the 7 days what you're going to do with that time that you're already allocated. Because when you start to level up in your life, things happen outside that you weren't even banking on. People get in contact you haven't heard from for a while, or your friends want to go and do something because now they're ready or they can do it in their time. And then there's other things that only come round once or twice a year, like a course. September is the common time of the year in the UK where you can join a new course. So if you want to join a new course, you need to be thinking about it in January and March. If you want to go and work in a school, you're going to be applying in the summer, even in the spring time, to get that job in September, because those cycles don't wait. So we also need to understand the cycles and the seasons, because we will miss opportunities. The bus will pass us if we don't look at the timetable. Not all timetables are great and things get delayed, but you do your best to make sure that your plan gets executed. And it's not like having a 5-year plan, because sometimes it's just really difficult to navigate. And I'll give you an example. I've been watching Race Around the World. I love that. They've all got one goal. They know that it's an ultimate goal, the final destination, but they've got, I think, 5 points on that journey they've got to get to. They all want to win. They've all got the same goal. They've all got the same money, and they've all got a partner. So they've got someone who's got a strength and a gift in something. And it's fascinating when you watch it, because they will all have these different strategies as to, do they just keep going on the bus, on the train, on the boat, or do they stop off, do a bit of work, earn up some money, build up their resource again, and have some fun? Or do they just have fun and think, we'll get there anyway? So are they racing at it like the snail, or going at it like the tortoise? And then how are they navigating that and managing that? Because if you're doing it on your own, you can make all your own decisions. But now when it involves a partner or somebody else, that's when it can get watered down. That's when you end up compromising yourself. Are you compromising yourself and agreeing to things that you didn't really want to do? If you are, why? Why are you compromising? Because if you get angry and frustrated, sometimes that's because you're selling yourself short, or you wanted to give today to doing a particular thing. So, for example, I've got my kids here, and they work in different places, sometimes at home, sometimes not. So when they're not working at home, this is the opportunity for me to capitalize on the space so that I can really focus on the different facets of my business and projects that I want to move forward. Okay, so you've got to be aware of what can disrupt that, what time can you get available. And when I work with parents who had children who were in and out of hospital a lot, one thing I used to teach them about is when you get a space that opens up, if you are really tired, sleep. If you just need rest, rest and watch some normal TV, because we do need downtime. I'm going to look at rest and pause as part of the 7-day program as well. So there'll be videos on there. So protect your energy. It's leaking into people, habits that don't work anymore, and environments that drain you. And every yes to them is a no to your dream. It's a no to your energy. So we're going to have friendships where we go through different cycles with them, where, we might love spending time with them. And then something comes up in their life, in your life, and you don't see them as much. And you want to see them when they come round. But be really, really tight on your time and decide what you need and want now moving forward for the next 3 months. If you set yourself a goal of 3-month action plan, a month is great. It's a great start. But if you see as far as 3 months, especially if you have seasons, because I know that different parts of the world it's different. But even for the month, you have a new moon and a full moon. The new moon is where new ideas, put them forward, take action. Full moon is also a chance for release what no longer serves, or you've tested out, it doesn't work for you anymore. And that can be in all sorts of ways. It doesn't have to be big things. And decide where you go, how you're going to use your energy. Do that calendar for the week, how you're going to use your energy each day, what energy you already have to give to. Of course, people work and they need to work and they need to earn some money, or you give the energy to the meetings. So my most disastrous time for agreeing to meetings, and people used to love having meetings when I was at work. We had a lot of meetings during lockdown. I think when lockdown started, I was on Zoom like 7 meetings a day. I was like, I've got no time to actually do any work. We're just talking about X, Y, and Z. And some of them are waste of time and meaningless. And you ask anyone that goes to a lot of meetings will agree that. Now we've got AI, we can use our AI in a way that supports us to. You don't need someone to write the transcript and to send a document out that nobody reads, or a report that nobody really takes action on, unless you've got somebody like a project manager that's going to call you into account and say, why haven't you done that? So you need to activate your own project manager or your own wingman and woman that says, right, you agreed to yourself you were going to run every day for 7 days. Where are you? Have you done it? Why not? What excuse did you give yourself? Okay. So use your anger, frustration, envy, irritation, whatever, as fuel. So when you feel that in your body, how can you capitalize on that? Where can you put that? What can you teach yourself, and how can you do that? So a lot of my blogs and articles and things that I've done is because of things that I've learned. I want to put them somewhere. I want them to be useful to somebody else. Oh, and the fact I was going to share with you earlier, I'm not sure how much of a fact this is because I haven't analysed the data of my website or YouTube page, but about 5% of you listening to this will actually take action. 95% of you may not. You may listen to it and you think that's great, got a great idea. So if you're listening to this all the way through, thank you so much for staying on board. But thank yourself for giving yourself the time to learn something, write in your journal. Then if you're writing that in your journal and you're reflecting on that, say, what one action can I take from this? Even if it's one action for the whole week, is anything that moves the bar from where you were previously, take the action that calls out to you. So radical gratitude. Yes, be grateful for this exact day. Be grateful for the fact that your lungs and your health is doing okay, or that you're getting the support that you need. Because I know it's different for everyone. We've got issues in the UK with trying to get a GP appointment, and now dentists, it's very hard to get a dentist appointment. The things that in the UK we've paid into the system that we should still be entitled to. Yes, we're going to have different comments about that, but this whole YouTube page isn't about the NHS and entitlement. So please don't put that response below. So be grateful, yes, for the fact that you breathe. And gratitude isn't just a list. It's a starting point. It helps, massively helps, because it redirects your focus, your energy and attention into those things. But it should be the launch pad, not the ultimate final destination. So one small step daily, like I said, not giant leaps. Unless you're the sort of person that I have inspired you so much and fueled your belly and your sacral chakra is revving up. Take a bigger step. Make that bold decision. Take that job you've been deliberating about that you don't think you've got enough confidence to do. Because I used to employ staff. I don't look for perfect staff that come along that have got everything I need. I look for staff that also can grow with us and share ideas. So on average, you might have 70% of what your employer is looking for, of the competencies and skills. If you work in an A&E and you're a brain surgeon, of course, you need 100% experience and skills. Okay, but it's about where's the gap and what do you need to move you forward so that you fill that gap until you get to your next step. So excuses are just comfort in disguise. The government know, okay, that we like comfort. We've got movie channels, sports channels, gaming, these goggles that you can put on and transport you to another dimension, which that's what your brain will experience it as. We've got all these things that keep us comfortable, and as humans, we like comfort. We get in our comfort zone. Nothing wrong with that. If you've had a life of chaos, running about, stressed all the time, yes, we need to experience peace and comfort. It's important, but it's not the ultimate goal. So if you're in comfort, yes, we can feel blessed and thankful that we've got that comfort. But the human soul seems to want to expand and grow. So it can just be a disguise. So if you say you want it, prove it and put some action in. So every morning you can ask, what am I grateful for that demands I use it today fully? And then act like you mean it. Bring out your inner warrior. Bring out your inner project manager. If anyone knows what a project manager does, that's what I used to do. I'd have the sheet in front of me, the Excel spreadsheet that says Bob, Alice, Tim, Veronica, Rebecca, or whatever are all doing these separate things. And I'd have a date range. And they're doing these tasks, and I'd have a date range. And they needed to be done by X date. Because if this didn't happen, it had a knock-on effect and slowed down the outcome of this happening. And if that didn't happen, it had a knock-on effect. Longer term, it costs money, not just time. And some of the systems I've worked in were so frustrating at times because the amount of time it took to process advertising a job and getting the candidate in for an interview, onboarding them and getting all the documents was ages. Getting permission to create information to put on a website that would help lots of people and help them navigate the system took ages. So there were a lot of things that went on that actually was, I felt, such a waste of people's potential and time, because for people who can do it and just move forward, it's one of the most frustrating things ever. But we all choose the systems we're in till we don't want to be there anymore, and then decide we want to pursue something different. So don't waste it. Act on something small. Put in the comments or email me. You know what? If you've done my 7-day challenge and you listen to it every day and you read the journal prompts and you took in one of them and you decided something based on that journal prompt, contact me in the email and I will set up a workshop for anyone who's done the 7-day challenge. I'll have to cap it though at 15 people, but if that means I have to do 2 workshops, okay, I will do that. So I'll take the first 15 people who do any of the 7-day challenge, who have done those things, even if you watch the replay and you're a little bit late. So I'll give everyone till maybe day 10, okay, to get the 7 days completed. And I will run a workshop, one in the morning, one in the evening, where we can look at where were you, what did you learn, what you're taking from this, and what plans are you putting in place to feel happier, healthier, set up your own business, join some training, whatever it is, okay? You seen enough of my videos to know how I operate. This is who I am. I have days where I'm calm and chilled and relaxed, and I have days where I'm like this, where I feel the fire, and I want to share that with you because it's a real balance. I've worked in the system long enough to see how long a lot of people waited until they got support. And what's beautiful about the work that I've done in the last few years when I started taking private clients again was I'm noticing that more people want to go and get support because they're recognizing they're trapped in patterns, they're not happy, and they've got stuck. So less people that have come into contact with me have waited for a crisis, but it's also the nature of where you work makes that difference. And it's a shame because in some ways we can prevent burnout from killing us off. And in some ways we can prevent a lot of pain and hardship that we experience from, say, like toxic, crappy relationships. And I'm not going to use, on another podcast that I've done, I've talked about terms like triggers, narcissism, psychopathology. I use these terms because I'm actually from a clinical background, but I won't diagnose people in any of those things. So when I talk about any of these terms or traits, I try and give an explanation as to the everyday usage versus what they often really mean. But if you've got any of those factors in your life, yes, they're tough. But when I worked with domestic abuse services, who also work with men and women where it was emotional, mental, financial, and physical abuse, because it will cross all those spectrums, they were really trained to help people who are at that place in their life. And that's up to 1 in 4. Okay, so you might have poor nutrition, poor sleeping habits, struggled with anxiety and depression. But if you can clean up your sleep, clean up some of your mental processes, clean up some of the way that you're managing your life day to day, and put a couple of steps in place, you will start to see a shift. And I can say that because I've been there. You know, I'm not saying this because I read it in a book. I'm saying this from my own experience. So practice radical gratitude, not just for what you already have, but for the chance to live fully, to feel the vitality, to feel alive. Stop wasting your time scrolling on Instagram. My goodness, I nearly cancelled my account this week because I don't know what's going on at the moment. But the algorithm has either gone wild on my account or there's just so much fake stuff that's on there that is, I'm reading a lot of people saying, what is this? What's true anymore? And I think in a way that's what's challenging us to do that. And you can't work out what's true anymore until you tap into yourself, turn off the noise and the distractions, the TV, the news, the Instagram, the Facebook. Yes, I scroll on there from time to time, but I can actually feel when my head starts getting full. And I'd rather use my focus time and energy for the things that I love doing, hanging out with the people that I enjoy spending time with, and doing the things that I love. So I'm making this at a time before I go on my road trip and start filming completely different videos. So like I said, you've got probably till next Monday or Tuesday. If you're watching this now, not the replay in 3 months' time, because it'll always be valuable information. But if you're watching this after the 10th of September, I won't be able to do a workshop for at least 3-4 weeks because I'll be away. So the offer is there, the window is short, and windows of opportunities come, but they don't always stay around. Sometimes they change or they disappear. So practice radical gratitude. Stop wasting time. Stop orbiting around other people. Stop waiting for them to come to the workshop with you. Don't make excuses. Go and buy the paintbrushes and the paint to start dabbling with art. Sign up to a course. Go to the gym and just get instructions for a 20-minute simple couch to doing nothing to doing something program. Go and get your bloods and health checks if you're having any difficulties. Go and see a chiropractor or an osteopath. You know, if you've got some physiological difficulties. And I'm not giving medical or any kind of advice, but there are different things that you can tap into out there, and there's a lot of free stuff. And that's why I make my programs free on YouTube, because I want you to tap into what I've spent more than 25 years learning, because I actually have reflected on the whole of my life, and I try and take the lessons from that and share that with people that might be helpful. Okay, so I'm going to put the journal prompts below the video, and when I do the live. I'm going to do the live on this again tonight. Okay, and the journal prompts are, where am I wasting time? Write down 3 places that you orbit around others, wait around, or delay action. Number 2, what excuses do you hear yourself using the most often? That can be tricky, but I don't have time, I'll start when, don't feel ready, and write them down word for word. Write them down, and then write down the opposite. Okay, that will challenge you. What do these excuses really mean? What do they really translate into? You don't have time, or you're not making yourself and your dreams a priority. Where are you selling yourself short? So have a look. Or is it the confidence? Is it that you don't feel that you've got the skills? My God, when I started doing podcasts, I had to learn so many different things that I didn't have the skills, and my brain was just going into blur, which is what happens when I was learning new stuff. And that's why I learned NLP, because that helped me unravel what was happening to my brain when I was trying to learn new stuff. So find on, I think it's called Udemy, but there's loads of course platforms out there. Don't sign up to a 6-month course or a year's course. There's lots of stuff out there that's rubbish, but sign up to a course that an expert has wrote that knows about that topic, okay, that either lived it or they've studied it, or they're like a philosopher, got a PhD, or something in the topic that you want. There's lots of people espousing personal development, and there's a lot of nonsense out there. So it's also about tuning in and tapping into and honoring your own intuition. And you can only do that when you practice the mindfulness that I've talked about in pretty much every other video, of tuning out the noise and sitting with yourself, which is what I'm going to do when I stop filming this video. Number 4, what are you truly grateful for right now that demands that you stop wasting time? Your health. So I value my health. So I'm doing yoga mostly every morning because I was getting stiff and really tight from the walking I was doing. Freedom. I meet that because I go in my camper van, but you might have a car, you might like going out running. Creativity. How are you utilizing your creativity? Resilience. Many people have resilience. I've come from a working class background. We're one of the most resilient people out there. Experiences. So where is it? What do you value? Do a values exercise. What do you value in that? And then start honoring yourself and that. You will get people around you. Like, oh, that's really nice you're doing that. Or, oh, it's good you've got time for that. Cut out the noise and just get on with it. And don't wait for validation. Don't wait for someone else to say how amazing it is. And if you're struggling with it, get help from the people who can help you. So the action challenge is cross out every excuse you wrote and write next to it, not true, I choose action. Step 2, circle one small action you can take today towards your dream. Just one, and do it before bed. So I've created a practice out of when I get these fiery moments, because I want to harness it. I want to harness that energy. So I've created my own warrior practice and put that into my yoga practice. And I teach that as part of when I'm teaching at festivals. So I want to show how to do the really slow, chilled out, de-stress yoga, but I also want to show people how they can tap into that resource and their own warrior spirit. Because we don't sit and wait for motivation or someone else to say, hey, let's get up and do this. It needs to come organically from ourselves. And sometimes it takes a bit, like if you've not lit the flame for a while in your car, for example, you haven't run it for a while, the engine dies, doesn't it? So you need to spark the engine up. You need the power. And if you're drained on power, you've got to get the power and the energy. So you've got to stop the energy leaks and you've got to spark that. And then how do you keep that spark going? And if you go too fast and furious, you've got to be careful you don't burn out, because sometimes that was what happens. So you've got to be mindful of peak, 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 rest, peak, 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 rest. That's how I manage my energy. Also circle one small action you can take today towards your dream. Just one, like I said, before bed. Say it out loud. I am grateful to my life. Therefore, I rise. I use my gifts. I stop waiting. I act now. Stop waiting. Start rising. Remember, excuses are lies that we tell ourselves to stay small. Today, cross them out and act. Radical gratitude means rising, not bowing. Remember what I said early on in that. I'm going to remind you, actually, because And I'll tell you, this has been I've seen this for years, but I really was able to articulate it much more. Gratitude is one of the most misunderstood practices out there. Be thankful for what you have, for the food on your table, the roof over your head. Others have it worse. Oh, so let's just be comfortable with that. Be comfortable with that and you're happy with that. That's great. Switch off. Okay, it's true, but the shadow side is historically, and I've been researching all the history, anyone who's into history of the Normans when they came over to the UK. Then the Romans came and built our roads and castles and then put in the tax system and the levies and all of that. And who were they? The landlords, the lords, and the serfs. And the serfs didn't really have that many rights, and they paid their taxes or tilled the land and gave them some of that. And so it's be grateful, go to church, be humble, don't ask for more. Okay. And this still permeates our consciousness. So be really mindful when you hear yourself saying that. And what's the other one? Well, we've got food and no one else has. Well, doing without doesn't help anyone else. But when you are fully firing and you capitalize on your energy, then of course you can make some money and you can go and help that charity and you can go and help homeless people. The fact that we've got homeless people in the UK just doesn't compute in my mind. The fact that we've got this cost of living crisis is, I can't even go into why that drives me insane. Because of how our systems are actually managed and who manages them. And I've seen the way people manage systems because I've worked in many of them, okay? But I'm not going to go into that here. So be mindful, radical gratitude, yes, but focus now, tune in. What one thing do I want? What do I want to do this week and just do it? Go to the library, go and look at the car show, get out on your bike, go for a run. Regardless, do that one thing for yourself and then notice how you feel when you've done it afterwards. Okay, I've spent enough time on this. I hope it's been useful. Let me know in the comments, send me an email. And if you're one of those 5% of people that watch what I put out, but you're a bit shy to put some comments online, fair enough. A lot of us don't do that. Okay, but email me, connect, and let's set up a workshop and we'll do it for free. And if you get value out of it, you can donate to me. And when I start any of these donations, I will donate some of those donations to the domestic abuse services because I'm really passionate about people supporting men and women to move out of situations that are almost that they're stuck in. Okay, that's my offer to all of you. Thank you for watching.